laundry or being on hold with customer service or Beyonce's run as a country singer. Boom! Yes, I said it. Listen, I can't do anything about Cowboy Carter, or I would, but I can help with content. So today we're talking about 4 steps to streamline content creation.
Welcome to the Higher Purpose Marketing Strategy Podcast. If you're frustrated by marketing and want to stand out from your competition, this is the show for you. Every week, we're discussing how to build a plan that attracts your best customers and aligns with your values. I'm your host, Ashley Conway, follower of Jesus, CEO of Be Weird Marketing, marketing coach, and copywriter. I promise to defeat the ick, yuck, and struggle bus feelings you may have about marketing with a few good stories and proven advice. So let's have fun and get to work.
So another thing that I think of that's never ending is food prep, especially if you have a family. They just keep getting hungry 3 times a day plus snacks. It never ends. It is constantly you're worried about making sure someone has food, what we're going to eat, when we're going to eat, etc., etc. This is probably why moms spend so much time trying to figure out how we get our people fed with the least amount of effort. There was this show back on Food Network years ago, and it featured a gal named Robin Miller. And the show was, I think it was like quick fix meals, maybe. Here was the premise. She would spend time at the beginning making one meat, let's say chicken. And then for the rest of the week, she would remix it. Like, not to sound Forrest Gump, but like chicken enchiladas and chicken shawarma and chicken something else, you know? So I remember seeing this show. I got the cookbook, the whole 9 yards. I didn't love the idea of cooking every night, which is why I didn't do it. You know, I'm a leftovers person. They save me. But the principle is genius. Like, let's do the hardest, most time-consuming thing once, and then let's just repurpose the rest of the week. So I got to thinking, why can't that work for content? And it can. And here are the 4 steps to get you there. Number 1, the first thing you're going to do is to select a content category. So let me just be honest, I did this incorrectly for a long time by starting with my key messages, which were the things that I wanted to talk about the most, that I felt that my business emphasized above all else. You know, things like being values driven and customer first and research based. So that was great for me. I was getting to talk about the things most important to me, but the approach that's way more helpful for you all, my customers, my listeners, is to start with your problems. Start with the things that you care about, like ROI, like streamlining and making things simpler and more efficient. Different things like that you really want to know about. Start with your problems because that's going to lead to content that is more helpful to you. That's how you can develop your content categories, is just to start with what is your ideal customer's biggest problems, and you can try to group those into similar categories. But what are their biggest problems? What are the things that are on their mind that they're already, at least subconsciously, trying to find solutions for? Those are your content categories. And then when you go to create a piece of content, you're just going to select one of those categories. Number 2, the first step after you just have a category, this is the first step of actual content creation, is to create something long form, which is typically going to be a podcast, a blog, a YouTube video. Why is something you may be asking yourself. Why can't we just post on social media somewhere and let that be it? And it's because a longer piece of content is going to let you go deeper, which kind of helps you establish your expertise, that you are an authority in this particular area. It's better for SEO, that you have more keywords that it can pull from, that type of thing. And it's also the most reusable. I mean, you think, let's say that you create a Instagram post and it has a caption with it. There's not a lot you can do with that paragraph of content versus if you have 800 words of something or 1,500 words of something. That is a lot of content that you can do a lot of stuff with. Now, keep in mind when you're choosing a long form. The most common are podcasts, blogs, and video on YouTube. Each one of these have pros and cons. So my biggest piece of advice is to pick the one that you can joyfully commit to long term. Don't pick the one that you feel is the most trendy. Don't pick the one that you necessarily feel will perform better, because even if it performs better and you don't want to do it, then it's not going to work long term. You're going to stop. Pick the one that feels the most authentic to you, that you're like, I like this. I like the production of it. I am willing to do this at least once a week for the long term, the foreseeable future. That's the one you should go with. Step number 3 is to determine how you're going to repurpose that long piece of content. And this is where the magic happens. You can take, let's say a blog post, for example. You can take a blog post. You can turn that into an email series that goes to your list. You can turn that into several social media posts. You can turn one blog post that does well into a series. Like, let's break it up into smaller pieces of what you talked about and turn it into multiple shorter posts. You can use it to pitch for guest interviews on podcasts or trainings that you would like to do with people. Or let's say you want to pitch somebody on doing some kind of a shared promotion. You can use that blog post for it. So there are unlimited almost ways that you can repurpose your longest form of content and apply it to other channels. And that way you're not starting everything from scratch. And my 4th step is make it easy, right? That's part of the problem for all of us, honestly, with marketing, is that there is so much to do. It feels so time consuming. So let's find some ways to make that easy. You can create templates for everything so you don't have to start from scratch. So let's say you're going to have a blog post. So let's say that you make a template for that, and it has, you have spots in there for your title, for your introduction, for at least 3 points that you're going to make, for a closing, for a call to action, for links to other posts that you have written. There's so many things you can include in that template. But that means when you go back to do another blog post, you're not staring at a screen. You're just plugging in segments. And that makes your job of writing a blog post, or whoever on your team is doing it, so much easier and faster. You can do the same thing for social, for emails, for everything. Just create a template to start with. Another idea would be to make a checklist of what each piece needs to contain. Just like we were talking about that blog post, yes, it needs to have a title. It needs to have an introduction that has your keyword in it. It needs to have 3 points, let's say. It needs to have so many words total in it. It needs to have a call to action that directs somebody to do whatever thing you want them to do. Do you want to give them a freebie? Do you want them to schedule a call? Do you want them to follow you on social? Whatever it is, it needs to have a call to action. So you can create a checklist that just makes sure you hit all of those things in every piece you create, which means you don't miss anything. You can use AI to expedite some of the, I call them lower value tasks. So that would be things like writing social captions, editing a blog post. You give it the best you can, and you can give it to AI and say, edit this and make sure it sounds good and that it's in my brand voice, because it's just like an assistant basically for you. You can have it research things like, the topic I want to talk about is this. I want to include these key points. Tell me what else I'm missing, or tell me what a good call to action would be for my audience. It's an excellent researcher. The only thing to remember with AI is just you be the one in control. You input as much as you can and you tell it exactly what you want. And then you keep asking it to do things until it edits whatever the piece is to exactly what you want. The last thing I would say is an idea to make it easy is to create a recurring workflow that keep you and your team members in sync, and it kind of automates the production. So I use ClickUp as the task management system that I chose. There's Asana, there's a million different things, Trello, but I chose ClickUp. It seemed very user-friendly to me. It organized everything I put in there in a way that was very intuitive for me. I wanted something that was very easy to learn and to just pick up and take off. And that's exactly how I started it. I just downloaded it and I started throwing things in there, and it was very easy to do for me and to schedule different tasks and to have them reoccur. That was all very easy to just pick up with no knowledge and learn. But what I didn't want to do is to go into a deep dive of learning all the intricacies of this program, all the things it could do, because that's learning a software. I really don't want to take the time to learn a new software. I just want to be able to take action. For this podcast, I have reoccurring tasks in ClickUp every 2 weeks to work on outlines, to record the episodes, to edit them, to create the corresponding blog post, all of that. I have those things reoccurring, and they are scheduled every 2 weeks. And part of the way I'm able to do that is by working with a systems expert who knows ClickUp, who specializes in ClickUp and knows it back and forth, because she is able to do things that I don't do with just like not even an intermediate, a beginner knowledge of the program. She can help make things even more efficient and make it easier to loop in other team members. Fortunately, I have a special offer for you all, because I love my systems expert. Her name is Beth Kokel of Studio 320. And when it comes to systems and processes, her brain just works differently than mine. And she has so many great ideas to simplify what I'm doing and to streamline it and to take some of the work off of my plate. And honestly, it's so much cheaper than even hiring an assistant that there are just so many things that she can automate for me. So like I said, we are partnering to offer you something special. She's going to offer a free 60-minute strategy session with her to talk about just your business, everything you want to ask about your processes, the way you operate. And she's going to give you a free ClickUp template to help you manage your content creation. So ClickUp is not something that just works for content. It works for a stinking lot of stuff. I use it to organize my actual client work. I use it to organize my courses that I bought and when I'm going to take them. There are just so many things. So you can bring all of that to her and just kind of talk about the way you operate on a daily basis, and she will help you figure out what are some small tweaks that you can make to streamline. And it's just huge for us that are CEOs that we need some of our time back, please. Okay, and notice that I said this is a strategy call. This is not a sales call where she's going to spend the whole time just trying to sell you on whatever her program or service is. This is all about talking about your challenge and getting some quick wins on that call. Absolutely free. These two things, the hour call, and the template are worth $175, and you're getting them for free. It's so simple. Just go to studio320vs.com/higher-purpose. You'll be able to book your call, and then you'll get an email with the template. Here is your homework for today. Just identify where you need to start on all of these steps. Just to review the steps, it was 1, select your content category. 2, create your long-form content piece. 3, determine how you're going to repurpose it. And those same ways will apply every time you create a new long-form piece. And then 4, find ways to make it easy for you and your team. So just identify, of those 4 steps, where do you need to start? Then you break those down into smaller tasks. That's the only way we keep it from being overwhelming, is to take the big thing we need to do and break it down into very small steps. I need to set a meeting with my team. I need to call someone. I need to read something. We want to make it so small that it feels doable in the midst of the mountain of things you have to do. Then block time on your schedule to knock them out, and block time for other people on your team if it's necessary to get this ball rolling. Like many things, it takes some time on the front end, but then once you have a good system in place, from then on out, it makes things so much easier, more efficient, and more effective. So, favorite segment time, office hours. Here's the question For this week, Christy asked, how can I stay consistent with marketing when I already have so much on my plate? Amen, right? Right. That is the hard part. It's not the starting, because if you're like me, you get really jazzed about the new thing, about the starting, the new idea. The hard part is the continuing, especially when you aren't seeing concrete results, let's say. Like, no one is going to come to you as a new customer and say, it was that blog post that did it for me. I really love that blog post, and I just knew you were my kind of people and I wanted to do business with you. No. So the way you stay consistent is your systems. Good systems and processes help you stick with it because they remove the decision making. And that's the hard part. It's like, do I do this? I don't really want to. I mean, the example with my business is the podcast and social media posts. If I have those on a recurring schedule and it just kind of comes up on my to-do list for the day, I don't spend any time thinking about, should I do this or should I not? I just automatically do it because it's on my schedule. And that is the point of having a good system. It takes out all the I don't want to's, whatever it may be. You just follow your system. And that's the biggest tip that I can tell you, Christy, for staying consistent is just get a really good system and a good process and follow it. Simplify as much as you can with automation, with templates for things, especially the things that are not the most important critical. Just get a good template in place and follow it every single week. And the same for your team. Encourage them to build their own systems and processes. That's just good operating practice, right? All right. Of all these steps we talked about, developing your content pillars may be the most challenging part of the process. It's the one that takes the most reflection. It takes the most deep thought as to what are these major problems that my customer already is asking themselves. If you need help with this is the thing that's perfect for a power hour coaching session that we would just knock out in 60 minutes. You come armed with some good information about your customer. I can do some quick research, and then we can put together what those content categories would be. And from there on out, things get much easier. You can schedule that coaching session with me at bit.ly/Power Hour Coaching. That's it for this week. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to today's show. For all things podcast, including transcripts, extra resources, and a place to submit questions for the show, visit higherpurposemarketingstrategy.com. I'd also love for you to do me 2 quick favors. 1, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and 2, share this episode with your colleagues. And that's a wrap. Meet you back here next week.